Good morning, bookworms. It's that time again. It's time for a what I read in the month video. So this is going to be what I read in September, and I read 7 books in September, which is actually pretty good considering I had lots of assignments due for uni and stuff like that. So anyway, needless to say, this is my 7 books I read in September. Make sure you get yourself a nice cup of tea and get cozy, and let's talk books. My voice went funny. So the first books that I read in September, I read the Meling Sisters trio by Klein. They are called All in the Blue Unclouded Weather, Dresses of Red and Gold, and The Sky in Silver Lace. And it's a trilogy of books. These are about a family. It's mum, dad, and 4 sisters. It's set in Australia, rural Australia in the 1950s. And dad is very much absent. He's an itinerant worker. He's constantly away looking for work. So it's really just centered around mum and the 4 Meling sisters. And they're very different, the Meling sisters. And what I loved about this series is, as an Australian, I found it really, really relatable to an Australian childhood. This isn't Enid Blyton. There's no romanticism or idealized descriptions of life in this book. Often life is quite hard. Often the kids are naughty. Often the kids don't make good decisions. Sometimes they're selfish. Sometimes they're judgmental, not charitable, make bad decisions. And I found that really refreshing and realistic and relatable about the characters. I really loved the characters in this book. I think I really felt connected to these characters, and I think many Australians will be able to see their own childhood reflected in these books. And sometimes life is tough, but people make the best of things, and kids especially. They find things to do. They find things to do with their day, and they make their own fun. And I really love these books, and it just made me fall in love with Klein even more. I loved her. She was one of my favourite authors when I was young, and she still is. She's amazing. I really loved the characters, and I loved the stories, and I loved the fact that it's not romanticized, and that sometimes these kids don't do the right thing, and sometimes they're naughty, and sometimes they get in trouble, and I think that's really realistic. So, hey Bluebell, when did you come in here? You come in to tell everyone what you read in September. So, yes, I really recommend the Meling series trilogy if you can find it. I really enjoyed it, and it's a light, enjoyable read. You laugh at times, you kind of cry at times. It's not hard to read. They're really easy to read. In fact, I think they're probably middle grade books, but I think actually they might have been in the teens section in our library. So they're not adult reads. They're quite easy reads, but gee, they were good. I did actually really enjoy them, and I related a lot to them, and I could imagine my parents growing up in the 50s and 60s in Australia having very, very similar experiences and very similar childhoods to the Meling girls. So yeah, highly recommend. The second book I read in September was the perfect book to pick up at the beginning of spring. It's Spring Clean for the Peach Queen by Sasha Wasley. This was just the perfect thing to pick up. It's not difficult. It's not too taxing to read, and because I've been doing assignments and studying, I didn't have the bandwidth for anything that was going to tax me too much or require me to think too hard. And this really was just a comfort read. It's really uplifting. It's really positive. It's about Lottie, who has been in the city working as an actress, and an event occurs in her life, a rather traumatic event, and she decides she needs to spring clean her life, detox, cut herself off from social media and acting and the city, and go back to her hometown, her little hometown, which is set in rural, I think it's New South Wales, rural New South Wales, where the main industry in town is peaches. And she goes back to her parents' place and finds that people have made judgments about what she has been up to in the city while she hasn't been there, including her mum. So she's not really welcome at home. But she finds a bit of a welcome community in her friends and their families. And she decides to go about helping them to declutter and detox their lives too. I really loved this. I really, really liked it. It's really positive, really uplifting. The characters are really relatable and you do connect with them. I really liked to... And I thought it was just perfect for coming into spring. It's got a beautiful cover. It's this beautiful colour with these peach blossoms and peaches. And then inside, each chapter is decorated with blossoms as well, which I just really like that. I thought that was a really nice little touch to the book, and it made me really happy to read this. It was the perfect, uplifting, simple, uncomplicated read for while I was studying and for springtime, and loved it. Really loved this. So highly recommend. Give it a solid 4 out of 5. Not like a 5 out of 5 for me is a book that rocked my world and changed my life. I still really enjoyed it. So highly recommend. The next book that I read in September was my daughter's book. It's Killjoy by Holly Jackson. And it's a novella, which is the prequel to the Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy. So it kind of sets the scene. And our main character, Pip, goes to a murder mystery party that's her friend is hosting. And we as a reader, follow the characters along as they are in character at a murder mystery party. So it sort of switches between them being themselves and then being in character as their murder mystery party characters. And this sets up how Pip decides to choose her project for her school project to solve a murder in the town that has already happened, because she has so much fun having at this murder mystery party, and because she's so good at it. So it sets the scene for the trilogy that comes after it. I loved the Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy, and I didn't love this as much, but for what it is, as a very short little novella prequel to that trilogy, I did enjoy reading it. As a standalone, if you were to only read this, you'd probably be disappointed. And I'm kind of glad I read it in the order that I read it in, reading the trilogy first and then reading this prequel, because it gave, in a sense, this some context. I think if you read this alone, or if you read this first, you probably wouldn't get as much from it, I would say. Still, it was a good read. I really liked it. I gave it a 3. It was a good read. But yes, I would recommend reading the Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy first. It's Good Girl's Guide to Murder, Good Girl, Bad Blood, and As Good as Dead by Holly Jackson. And then reading this at the end to see where that trilogy originated. But yeah, I liked it. It was a good read. Yeah, it was a good read, but probably not a standalone. So that was number 4. No, sorry, 5. That was 5. Number 6, book number 6 that I read in September was The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. And I'd heard so much about this. And my husband read this. He actually listened to it as an audiobook driving to work. And he really enjoyed it. He really, really enjoyed this. So he was telling me I should pick it up and read it. And I got given it. So that was lucky. And yeah, this was great. This is really great. The nature of it, which was jumping from character to character and showing their perspective on the murder that had happened, or several murders that happened surrounding a retirement village and the characters in the retirement village, I found a little bit confusing. So it's set in a retirement village and it surrounds 4 characters who are living in the retirement village who have made a hobby of meeting on a Thursday night and going through old cold cases in their town. There's those 4 main characters, but there's also some sub characters as well, and I found that a little bit confusing. And that might be my bad. I'm not sure. That might be just how I read it, but I found the skipping between characters, in this case, the minor and major characters, a little bit confusing to the plot. However, I did love the characterizations, especially of the 4 main characters in the Thursday Murder Club. As far as like elderly people go, you know these characters, you know them, you've met people like them. The dialogue is beautiful. The dialogue's beautifully written. I really enjoyed it. It's a solid 4 out of 5 for me. I would recommend it. Even though I found the plot a little bit, do you know what? In fairness too, it might be because I've been doing these assignments and I have been a bit distracted. Maybe if I had my normal levels of focus and concentration, I would have found this a lot more enjoyable. So I'm going to say that. I'm going to put that disclaimer that I have been a bit distracted. So, I'll give it the benefit of the doubt there. So 4 out of 5, really enjoyed it. Characters are great. Dialogue's great. We'll probably read more. So the seventh book that I read in September was If We Were Villains by L Rio, and I had been really looking forward to this. I've had it on my shelf for a while, and we've had a few days of cloudy weather and rain, and this was the perfect book to pick up because it's very much dark academia. I would definitely call this dark academia. I would liken it to the Dead Poets Society. Also Donna Tartt's books as well, The Secret History. It's sort of like that. It's about these characters who are going to a Shakespearean drama school, a really exclusive one, where it sort of reminds me of like Oxford. Like the setting is like this old academia setting, and a lot of the language that's used in the books relates to Shakespeare, and I'm a Shakespeare lover from way back, so that really appealed to me. Also, I'm a bit of a theatre buff. My husband and I met doing theatre, so the stage references and theatre references really appealed to me as well. And it's about, I would say, this book is about the family that you make when you're a young person going through higher education or tertiary education. You've moved out of home, so you're not as connected to your sort of blood family. You become more connected to your chosen family, your friends and the people who surround you day to day, especially when you're living in a dorm situation like these guys are. And this book really explores the blending between what's pretend, what's acting, and what's reality. And I thought it was really interesting. So sometimes when these characters are embodying a Shakespearean character, they become a bit too enmeshed in the drama and the pretending and the embodying of the characters, and it kind of bleeds into their own behavior and their own choices. And it was really, really interesting. So we have this really close group of young people who are being pushed to the edge of their emotions to really explore their capabilities as actors, and they're being pushed by their tutors and their mentors. It starts to kind of affect their relationships with each other, and they're also sort of close and becoming unnaturally close because they're having these trauma bonding experiences together. And then one of the characters dies, and we don't know as a reader the real circumstances surrounding this character's death, and the characters don't really know because we have to pick apart what's real and what's stage and what's pretending and what's acting and what's the character and what's their character from that they're taking on through the theatre. And it's really, really interesting. That bleeding of reality and acting is really interesting, and I really liked it. You know, you don't love all the characters. They're very flawed. All of them are very, very flawed, and they don't make good choices. And some of them are, you know, very narcissistic, and, you know, they're stage folk. You know, they like attention, they like an audience. Some of them are very selfish and very flawed and very insecure, and it makes for really interesting character study. So I really loved this. I would give it a 5. I loved it. So if you are in the mood for a bit of dark academia, bit of intrigue and a bit of real gritty, artsy kind of language, bit of Shakespeare thrown in, then I highly recommend If We Were Villains by L Rio. I loved it. Okay, so that's my 7 books that I read in September. Now that I'm finishing up uni for the semester, I've got 2 more big assignments due this week. So hopefully I'll have them all handed in by the time I do the next vlog, which is really exciting because I'm really looking forward to having some time off it, to be honest. I feel like I haven't done anything creative for ages, and I'm really looking forward to having some extra reading time for pleasure. And I'm also looking forward to getting into some creative projects. I haven't had time to do any of my creative projects. So I'm really, really looking forward to doing some spinning and knitting. I haven't spun or knitted anything I can't even remember the last time I had time to do that. I'm looking forward to doing some watercolor, some vlogging, of course. I've got a paint by number on the go that hasn't had any attention for at least 6 months or so. I'm looking forward to doing some baking. And now that it's springtime, I'm looking forward to going on some adventures and reading outside, maybe the beach, taking Bluebell to the beach with a good book and going for a swim and doing all those warmer weather things that I haven't been able to do. I'm also still doing my reading only books I own challenge, no library books. I have no books on my library card. So, and believe me, at work, I have seen good ones, and all I've done is taken a photo of them on my phone and put them in my to be read list, but I haven't borrowed any. So I've been very strong, very restrained, but I have so many good books on my shelf that I can't wait to read and to share with you. I can't wait to share these with you and see if you've read any of these as well. Comment down below what you're currently reading, or if there's anything on your to be read pile that you're really looking forward to. I have so many at the moment. I'm currently reading, I've just finished There Was Still Love by Favel Parrett, or Perrett, could be Perrett, I'll have to look that up, but that'll be in my what I read in October video as well. I'm also looking forward to reading some spooky reads in October. It's not autumn here, it's spring. It's getting lighter and warmer, but it is still Halloween on the 30th of October. So a bit strange, but I'm still planning on reading some spooky reads. And my husband has a really big Stephen King horror collection. So my plan is to read something out of his collection for Halloween. Maybe not in the dark on my own. So I'm a bit of a scaredy cat, but I'm looking forward to that too. But that'll be in my October Reads vlog as well. And I'll be vlogging as normal between then and now. So I hope you're having a lovely end of the week and you have something good planned this weekend. But please take it easy and look after yourselves and do something nice for yourself today. Maybe go and make some tea and pick up a good book after you put me down. Put your phone down or put your device down, and take care of yourself as well. Thanks so much for being here today. Don't forget to like and subscribe and tell your friends. I'd really appreciate that. Thanks so much, and I'll see you in the next vlog. Mwah!